The ACA opponents, I would characterize, the decentralizers, I would say have offered a very weak assortment of proposals that really aren't, and I'm going to stereotype, but I would say it's not really high on their agendas. They're not people who tend to walk into a room and say, let's talk about health care. Tends to be the last thing on earth they want to talk about. If a centralizer brings it up and wants to talk about it, they'll come up with a few sort of reflexive answers and then change the subject as quickly as possible to something they like talking about. So what are the alternatives that are often cited? And you'll see people waving the flag saying, you see, there are other bills out here, there are other proposals. And I always find, again, these are people with whom I'm often generally allied in many ways, but I don't know that they really strongly believe what they're pushing on this. So they'll say, well, we need to buy and sell insurance across state lines, and that's going to really do the trick. Well, I'm fine with buying and selling across state lines, actually. I think it's a perfectly fine idea, but I think it will do roughly as much good as buying and selling haircuts across state lines. Health insurance is an intensely local good, and quite frankly, no one in Nevada is going to come in and do a bang-up job and sell health insurance in Virginia or Maryland. It just doesn't work that way. It's different from life insurance, car insurance, where the variables are much simpler and can be monitored from a distance. So again, I'm perfectly fine. I favor the ability to sell across state lines. I don't think it'll actually do much. Malpractice. This tends to be a decentralizer talking point, that the real problem is jurisprudence, the cost of that, of litigation, of defensive medicine. So, okay, the best estimates we have out there are that malpractice, the problems of malpractice probably add about 2 to 5% to the cost of health care every year. If you could solve that problem in its entirety, that would get health care costs down to what they were in around February. I know of no one who is nostalgic about what was the state of healthcare prices back in February. So malpractice, and I'll come back to malpractice, it's an important issue, but not for that reason. Wellness initiatives, that kind of fits the decentralizer ethic. Personal responsibility, let's all be healthier. Let's encourage that. Well, I'm all for that. Again, I'm for malpractice reform. I'm for wellness initiatives. However, wellness initiatives, by and large, will increase the cost of healthcare, not decrease. And it's quite paradoxical. I usually have to spend a couple of weeks shaking my students and getting them to understand why that is. And we can talk about it later if you like. But basically, wellness initiatives increase the cost of healthcare. They don't decrease it. It's a good thing to do, but you got to pay for it. Transparency, post a few prices. The decentralizers tend to say, well, look at LASIK and look at plastic surgery. The prices are posted on the wall. They're great. They're wonderful. That's how it should work. And first of all, I would say there's a problem with that logic. Again, I agree. Those are both interesting industries to watch that. But fundamentally, you have a difference in those in that no one ever dials 911 to get to their LASIK guy or to the plastic surgeon. Some communities maybe plastic surgeon, but some zip codes. Transparency can cut both ways. Transparencies can, in a competitive market, can create downward pressures. In an oligopolistic market, they can actually have kind of the reverse effect, which is why antitrust law is filled with examples of you can't share your prices with your competitors, because if you do, we're sure you're going to actively or tacitly collude. But the other thing is, there's not much point about transparent prices if there's only one thing you can buy. And that's the problem. We have limited what we can buy and what we can't buy in healthcare, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. And then also on the decentralizer agenda is tax equalization. Equalize the tax treatment of buying it through your employer and buying it as an individual. Actually, that's the one I think that actually is quite important. I think creating that distinction, that difference, destroyed the individual tax market back in the 1940s. And I consider that to have been one of the most severe domestic policy failures of, of the 20th century. That alone caused our healthcare system to wander over to where it is. Now you can't unwander it simply by eliminating that, but that is an important step. So, not too thrilled with either side, but that's good because it gives me a job and something to complain about and something to work on thinking up new ideas, new approaches.